Right now, we are witnessing the fall of the masculine man. Men are becoming weak, spineless, and hedonistic. No, I'm not a Tate clone. No, I'm not going to sell you in my ultra high value man Inner Circle Hustles University course. But I am, however, going to teach you how to become a modern day Spartan by getting you into the best shape of your fucking life, increasing your testosterone, becoming a weapon, and learning to think like a stoic. This is what personally transformed my life and took me from this to this, and my brother from this to this, and my clients and friends from this to this. So I hate wasting time, so this is the entire structure of the video, so you can just skip to the parts that you need. But you've probably watched hundreds of videos about this stuff before, but I promise you, this will be the one that can change your life. So throw your phone to the side, limit your distractions, and just lock in. Number one, mindset. Before we start any of the practical stuff, we need to get your mindset right, because you need to actually lock in order to stick to the program. Because if you can't stick to a routine or you don't have the strength to build new habits, then it's pointless. So the first thing we must address is self-induced ADHD. And you've probably heard it before, someone telling you that the way they act is because they have ADHD. So ADHD is essentially attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, due to all the modern day distractions and social media algorithms designed to have you hooked, this actually causes the brain to mimic ADHD symptoms. This stuff hijacks your dopamine reward pathways and sets your baseline so high that you can't achieve that same level of dopamine from anything other than split screen TikTok videos. This is a huge problem because dopamine is the motivation hormone. So when you can't get enough dopamine from real life, you can't even muster up the motivation to do anything meaningful. I think that's why it's the first thing that needs to be addressed before everything else. So I won't go into dopamine detoxing in this guide because you can find plenty of stuff online about how to do a dopamine detox, but just try to distance yourself from these distractions and stay off your phone as much as you can. The next block to building a strong mindset is stoicism. This is just the art of enduring pain or hardship without displaying any feelings or without complaint. Yes, we all endure feelings, and trying to avoid feelings won't work. And integrating good and bad feelings is a part of a strong mindset. However, we can control how we react to those feelings. And as a modern day Spartan with a North Star, a purpose, we must remain unfazed. We must be consistent towards our goals, and our emotions are inconsistent. When you let your emotions control how you act, this is a massive sign of weakness. So just a few little tips on how to become more stoic is focus on what you can control, just accept your fate, and live with purpose. Next up, we have the big M word, motivation. Now, everyone loves this because they use it as a substitute for the word laziness. But motivation can be split into two words, motive and action. They're actually really important in creating motivation because you must know what your motive is and then you must take action. So here's the thing, most people have motivation completely backwards. First, they think they'll get the inspiration at some random time like 3 a.m. Then they'll get the motivation and then they'll take action. But actually, if you want to create motivation yourself, you should just be starting with the action, which will then draw inspiration, which then you will be motivated. And the action doesn't need to be massive. It can just be the tiniest of things. Go for a walk, start writing out your essay, just anything. Always start with the action. If you remember that, you will never have a problem with motivation again. I promise you. Just start with the action. Your environment is massive too. If you find yourself in a rut, try change environments. Just go outside, go on a drive, even just move out, travel somewhere. Our brains associate certain locations with certain emotions. If you've just been marinating in laziness in your bedroom for 5 years, what makes you think that you're going to be able to walk into that bedroom and be productive? Another thing is accountability partners are huge. Having someone else that's keeping you accountable for something like the gym essentially doubles your chance of actually sticking to it. So there isn't enough time in this video to fit the rest, but there is a heartbreak protocol and a mental toughness protocol inside the Spartan Society. That's just my free school group. It's sort of like a Discord, but it's formatted a bit better and it has all my free courses in there. So go join that if you want those too. Number 2, diet. First off, why should we actually have a good diet? Calories are calories, right? Well, yes, this is partially true. Only in terms of weight loss or weight gain. However, this is the Spartan protocol, so we want to optimize our diet for performance, productivity, mental clarity, longevity, and specifically testosterone. So then, what are some good and bad foods? So we don't necessarily want to call foods good or bad, but there are obviously some things that you need to avoid. So surprisingly, this is actually a super controversial topic online. You have performance coaches saying, yeah, high carb is amazing. And then you have carnivores saying, yeah, I eat carnivore, only eat fats, just have zero carbohydrates. Well, I think you'll find the answer is actually really dependent on the person. Different people react to different things. And I think the answer probably lies somewhere in the middle. But these are essentially some foods you want to avoid in all circumstances. sugars, processed foods, and fast food. And then some of the foods that I would actually eat a lot of would be meat, red meat, fruits, vegetable, dairy, and occasionally grains. Now onto the actual calories. Should you be bulking or cutting? Well, we want to be doing either one. We don't want to be doing a maintenance. We don't want to be sitting on the fence and just spinning our wheels. So I'd say a good rule of thumb is if you're above 18% body fat, you should cut. And if you're below 18% body fat, you should bulk. However, if you are on that cut, stay on the cut till about 10 to 12% body fat and then bulk up. It should look something like get down to about 10% body fat, bulk up to just over 18, and then just repeat that cycle. And if you're looking to gain muscle and you're looking to gain weight, then it obviously makes sense that you need to be bulking for a larger portion of time than you need to be cutting. So I would do something like I would bulk for about 9 months and then strip back the fat over 4 or 5 months. In turn, that will lead you to be heavier, therefore have more muscle mass in the long run. So what would a day in the life of eating like a modern day Spartan actually look like? Well, it's actually a really efficient way to time the meals, but it honestly depends on your schedule. But the basic premise is we want to keep the calories and the carbs low when we have mentally taxing tasks, and then we want to up the carbohydrates 2 to 3 hours before any physical performance activities. So a typical day might look like this. So I will do most of my mental work until about 10 a.m. and I'll fast up until that point. I'll then have something light, low on carbs, something like 6 eggs. For lunch, I could have something like chili con carne, which is just beef mince and some beans with some tomato paste. And then 2 to 3 hours before I do my training, I'll have a very high carb meal, something like oats with blueberries and some skyr yogurt. And then after training, I'll have some more meat, maybe something like chicken, and then I'll have like an avocado or something like that. In terms of your actual macros, just make sure that your protein is at least 1 gram per pound of body weight. And then you can sort of backfill with the fats and the carbohydrates depending on what you work best on. Personally, I work really well on high fat and low carb, and I think you'll find that if you're doing a lot of mentally taxing work and you're trying to have a lot of mental clarity, you'll find that very low carb diets work very well for this. As you'll find when you eat carbs, your body actually takes a lot of energy to digest that and you can't think as clearly. The actual diet models, however, aren't as important as just keeping the foods that you eat healthy. Nothing in wrappers, nothing processed. Number 3, physique. So there is literally thousands of videos on science-based lifting and working out from people like Jeff Nippard. So I'm just going to keep this extremely brief, but just make sure to follow a structured routine, progressively overload, and train with intensity. And then just keep the form good, and I think that's pretty obvious. Also, don't be lazy and just sit on machines all day. We're trying to become a modern day Spartan, so that means we want to have functional muscles. So do lots of movements like pull-ups and dips because we want to actually be mobile, we want to be functional, and we want to have lots of relative strength. Also, keep the volume lower and the intensity higher. The last thing we want to do is spend 2 hours in the gym. That's completely unnecessary. And we also want those extra recovery points for the combat training, which we're going to get into later. Speaking of which, how do we balance fight training and gym at the same time? Well, in the Spartan Society Physique module, I put this into 3 different programs. You've got a 3-day full body program, which is combat priority, 4-day push-pull upper lower, which is sort of more of a balanced one, and then you've got 6-day push-pull legs, which is essentially just like a bodybuilding program. So based on what your goals are, those are probably going to be your 3 best options. The 3-day full body will give you the most time for fight training while still being able to build your physique. The 4-day is a nice balance between the two, and a 6-day is obviously going to be full bodybuilder training, which only leaves you 1 day for fight training. For the sake of simplicity, I won't be going into the specifics of each of those programs. You can go into the Spartan Society, download them for free, you get the whole PDF and everything. Okay, number 4, recovery. So there's lots of talks on recovery methods like saunas, ice baths, cryotherapy, but 90% of recovery is going to come down to just 2 things: sleep and rest. Not getting enough sleep can literally destroy your life. It's literally the equivalent of trying to use your phone while it's flat. And as modern day Spartans, as athletes, we must sleep at least 8 hours. I went through a massive phase of, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I can get more work done if I sleep less. But just trust me, your performance will suck, your mental health will suck, and your testosterone will plummet. See, I already knew this, but then once I got this Whoop band that I bought recently, it's really become apparent to me how much you need sleep. See, I thought I just needed about 8 hours because that's what you hear online. But since I got this Whoop band and I'm training like a modern day Spartan, it's telling me I actually need more like 9.5 hours every night. Also, this should be super obvious, but alcohol will completely destroy your recovery. In saying that, I actually did have a couple of drinks a few nights ago, and this is what it did to my recovery scores. As you can see, my stress scores overnight were ridiculous and my recovery dropped to about 26%. So just avoid alcohol at all costs. Rest is also super important. So what is rest? Essentially just taking some time off training in the form of a rest day, a deload week, just training a bit lighter. So I'd say if you nail your sleep, you can pretty much train every day, but at least 1 rest day a week is pretty much mandatory. So if you get your sleep and rest locked in, that's probably like 90% of the equation, but there's a couple of methods that can help you on top of that. Number one is sauna. This improves your circulation, relaxes your muscles, and improves your sleep quality. Number two is essentially the opposite, and it's ice baths, which does a similar thing like improving circulation, reducing inflammation, and increasing muscle recovery from removing metabolic waste products like lactate. If you have access to both a sauna and an ice bath, then it's a good idea to do something like an ice bath in the morning and then a sauna at night, or you can actually do like a combo and do the sauna and then right after hop in the ice bath, and that's actually been shown to improve the benefits of both. But once again, I'm going to emphasize that if you don't get your sleep and rest locked in, then all this extra stuff is pointless. Number 5, testosterone. This is the male hormone. So I'm opening an entire can of worms here, but I've been studying this like a madman the last couple of months on how to increase it naturally. And yes, it is possible. How much? Up to 300% in some cases. See, a lot of people are hopping on gear or TRT these days, but for most people that just want to get to that upper end of the reference range, it's totally achievable naturally. I've personally started seeing the benefits after just a few months of trying to optimize it. So I wish I took a testosterone test before I started all this stuff, but I'm estimating it was quite low. I was experiencing a lot of low testosterone symptoms. But I recently took a test right before I started a new supplement and sleep protocol, and I was sitting at about 553 nanograms per deciliter of total testosterone, which isn't massive by any means, but that's still above today's average. And if I'm estimating, it's definitely got to be 100, 200 points higher than when I started. So to get to that 550 reading, what did I do? Number one, I changed up my diet. Way more healthy fats, more calories, more water, less alcohol, heavier weights in the gym, cutting out endocrine disruptors from my environment, and trying to manage my stress further. So now after taking that test where I got 550, I'm going to try to take it even further. I'm upping my calories, taking vitamin D3, zinc, boron, Tonga Elite, and Fedoja agrestis, optimizing my sleep to 8 to 9 hours every night, removing even more endocrine disruptors from my environment and my water, and lifting heavier compounds in the gym. So at the time of this recording, I've just started this new protocol, but I'm going to drop my new reading in the comments in about 60 days, and then we'll see if it's actually any higher. But I actually have a module in the Spartan Society that's over 2 hours of content on increasing testosterone naturally. So I'm not going to repeat myself too much from that, but I am just going to quickly rapid fire some of the things you can do to boost your testosterone. Regular and heavy exercise, 8 to 9 hours of sleep, high fat and high cholesterol diet, stress management, sun exposure, healthy body weight, hydration, no alcohol, polygamous relationships, and avoiding endocrine disruptors. Number 6, combat. First off, why learn combat? Why should you learn to fight? Well, most people will say we live in a civilized society and there's no need to know how to fight these days. But if you've seen the news, you've seen the chaos going on everywhere. Riots, gang violence, stabbings in the UK. This stuff is becoming more and more common, especially if you're going to places like nightclubs and bars. It's almost guaranteed you'll see at least one fight on a night out. And it's your duty as a man to not only know how to protect yourself, but to protect the people that you love. See, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And you don't need to become Manny Pacquiao, but just knowing basic fight skills can protect you against 90% of people on the street. Fight training in the form of boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, MMA also builds discipline. The gym and lifting weights, it's not even in the same realm. That stuff is fucking easy, but pushing yourself round after round, trying to keep your hands up, trying to fight on when you're getting battered in sparring, that requires discipline. It also builds character like nothing else. The best people you will meet will be in a fight gym. That's because you can't be a dickhead and fight train. Otherwise, you'll get the dickhead beaten out of you. So it actually makes you a way more respectful and humble person. Another reason is the respect you'll get. Yes, this sounds superficial, but it's a real thing. Yes, people think it's cool if you lift weights and you've got muscles. But if people know you have the balls to step in the ring with another man, they have a new level of respect for you. And it's also just straight up fun, to be honest. I mean, I don't know how people just lift weights for 10 years plus. Alright, well that's good and all. Now you want to start fight training, but you also want to be jacked. So how do you balance fight training and going to the gym? Well, it's actually a lot easier than you might think. You'll actually be surprised how much you can cut back on the volume and still make progress in the gym. Matter of fact, I've dropped my volume by over half since I started fight training, and I'm making more progress in terms of my physique than I ever have. So if you watched that physique chapter before, you'll see that I said there was 3 different options: 3-day full body, 4-day push pull upper lower, and 6-day push-pull leg split. So I'd say the 3-day or the 4-day program are probably going to be your only viable options if you take fighting seriously at all. So obviously if you're doing the gym 3 days a week with that full body program, that allows you to fight train 4 days a week. And if you're doing the 4-day push-pull upper lower, that allows you to train 3 days a week, but you can actually overlap an extra day, which is personally what I do. I overlap another fight day on my lower days. I know you won't be overtraining if you're sleeping correctly, as they're two completely different styles of training. But one thing you do need to look out for is training specific muscles right before you do the fight training. Like personally, I would never do shoulders or arms right before a boxing session, because then my arms are obviously going to be dead and then I won't be able to keep my arms up and then I get fucking beat up. So I personally overlap my lower days with boxing. So how do you actually start? Yes, this is a real question. People actually don't know how to start. So I highly suggest you just join a fight gym. It's very tempting to just train at home because, you know, it's much easier, it's free, you don't have the anxiety of actually having to step into a fight gym. But trust me, if you actually want to make any sort of progress at all, you must join a gym. It's not as intimidating as you might think. Just walk in, talk to the coach. He'll be more than happy to talk to you about when the schedule is, when you need to rock up, and most likely he'll let you sit in for like a free class. Just trust me, do not try train at home forever. This is how you build bad habits, and then all you're gonna have to do is just unlearn those bad habits when you do actually get a coach. Number 7, supplements. Now I put this last because it's probably something you should be thinking about last. They are really only meant to be supplementation for the nutrients that you need to get in your diet. However, it is hard to get absolutely everything from your diet, especially some of the very specific ones in this supplement stack. So I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to rapid fire everything in the list, and then if you're interested, I'll go into what everything does. A multivitamin, vitamin D3 4,000 IUs, and vitamin K2 30 to 40 micrograms, zinc 30 to 50 milligrams, boron 6 to 10 milligrams, magnesium 400 to 600 milligrams, ashwagandha 400 to 600 milligrams, tonga Ali 300 to 400 milligrams, Vodoja aggressors 400 to 600 milligrams, omega 3s 250 to 500 milligrams, and electrolytes with 1 gram of sodium and about 300 grams of potassium. Okay, so first off is the multivitamin. So you should try to get all your vitamins and minerals from your food, but taking a multivitamin essentially ensures you're not deficient in any of them. Next off is vitamin D3. Now this is the vitamin that we get from the sun, but as most of you know, we don't get enough sun. I mean, are you in the sun right now? Probably not. So supplementing vitamin D3 is going to be a good idea, especially for testosterone. And that vitamin K2 essentially just helps you absorb the vitamin D3. Zinc and boron also help massively with your testosterone levels. Magnesium is awesome for sleep, and personally I love this stuff, especially magnesium glycinate. I haven't had a problem with sleeping since. Ashwagandha lowers cortisol, which indirectly raises testosterone, and personally I find it just mellows me out a lot more, makes me a bit more stoic, a bit more logical. And some people say that if they have it too much, they actually might become emotionless, which sometimes is fucking awesome. Tonga Ali and Vodoja aggressors are herbal extracts and are super potent in increasing testosterone levels. There isn't much research on it, so a lot of people actually discredit it for that, but there is so much anecdotal evidence out there on these things raising your testosterone. And I did multiple case studies on them in the Spartan Society, and simply this stuff works. These actually have the potential to double or triple your testosterone if it starts out at like a lower range. Omega 3s is great for both your brain and your heart health, and electrolytes are massively important for general hydration and performance. And that was all the information you ever need to make an insane transformation. If you made it to this part, that means you're seriously committed to changing your life. But here's the thing, most people know this stuff. Most people know the basic premise of how to get into good shape and become healthier. But the problem is most people lack the accountability to actually implement this stuff. That's why I want to make an offer to you. Book a call with us, and if you're a good fit for our coaching program, we'll work with you one-on-one for 90 days, and if you don't see any results, it's completely free. How can we guarantee this? Well, because everyone we've coached so far has got their dream physique and has reclaimed their masculine drive. And the process to get you there is simply backed in science. It just simply works. When you work with us, you'll get 24/7 accountability, a personalized diet and workout program, weekly check-in calls, customized testosterone boosting protocol, a customized testosterone optimization protocol, and Spartan mindset training. So if that sounds good to you and you want to get out of a rut and you actually want to get into the best shape of your life while actually becoming athletic like a modern day Spartan, then the link is the top link in the description.